Just gonna go ahead and get started a couple minutes early, let people sign on. So we'll just let it roll for a minute or two, and then I'll start yakking about running guns. Hey guys, see Tim, Mark out in West Coast. How you guys doing tonight? Let's see, West Coast. Let's see, it'd be what 6 o'clock, so dinner time. So let's see, give it another minute or two. I know it's a few minutes early. So I got my computer over here to the side. Keep an eye on it. Okay. Talking online. Jameson, only the best. Although I guess technically I shouldn't be drinking and playing with guns. Hello, Michael Minkus. Brian, how's it going? So like I said, we'll give it another minute or two because we're still technically a little early, and then I'll get rocking and rolling. So we'll just talk about what is run and gun. You know, a couple guys already on here that I know haven't shot them, but I know I've talked to them or are interested in it. Let's see, Tim, what was the chest rig you used? So we're going to talk about it, but we'll just go ahead and answer that. And I'll talk about it again. So I actually used a Hill People gear. So this is their runner's kit bag. So they have a whole bunch of these models. Hill People gear, they have different designs, more for the outdoor hiking, things like that. But they got different sizes. So I actually started with the Snubby kit bag, which is this little guy, which I got for just regular running. So you can see on me, it's not very large. It's one main pocket, and then it's got a front little admin spot, and then a harness. So I like it because I want it for being able to run. Basically, stick. I could put like a Glock 43. I can squeeze a Glock 19 in here. It's pretty tight, but a 43 or a 48 goes in here nicely. I can put my phone in, so with Bluetooth earbuds. I don't have it jostling in my pocket. I just don't like, especially like running shorts, the phone just bounces around quite a bit. So this is the Snubby kit bag, and then by comparison, for the 308 for 17 South, I ran the runner's kit bag. So you can see there's quite a bit of size difference. Mainly because I can't fit a 308 mag in the Snubby one, it's too small. So this one is the same design, it's just larger. It's got an internal pouch here, as you can see the same way. This is actually, just for fun, I was fitting 4 AR mags and still had room. But in reality, 25 round AR-10 PMag, I can fit in and still have quite a bit of, I could fit probably 3 or 4 of them in there if I really wanted to. That'd be a lot of weight. So I ran this, had in it, I put one of these PMags, so I had 2 on the belt, and I have 1 in here. I also had 15 loose rounds in it, so I could top off. I tried doing a test run, and I didn't want to have that extra. This thing weighs almost 2 pounds fully loaded, so having a 2-pound weight just anywhere else, I couldn't find a good spot for it. So I just stuck 1 in here, kept some loose rounds. I ended up stuffing a few rounds after I think it was stage 2 in one of the mags. And then up front also has that other sleeve, but because it's bigger, it just fits easier. So I still have my phone, other stuff I have in there. I have a collapsible cleaning rod, so these are pretty slick for if you have a failed eject, you rip a case rim or something off. Knock on wood, haven't had to use it. Guy, not this 2020, but 2019 Mammoth Sniper Challenge, he had a bullet stuck as he extracted around, so he didn't have one of these. At that match, you have to carry everything for you for the weekend, so having one of these helps just in case that's an issue. But for run and gun, probably a little more applicable to if you got to punch your bore out, crawling through an obstacle, you put a couple inches worth of mud in your barrel, you can use something to clean that out so you don't have a dangerous situation with the rifle. A couple other things. Here's a little pro tip. Ellis and I were talking about this at the match, and this is more for my running bag, but never a bad thing to have a little baggie of some TP and some dry cloths. Also have lens fobs, actually multiple of these. I'll talk about that on the run itself and why that was important and still wasn't good enough. So, Chris McNeil, how's it going, buddy? Good seeing you. So it looks like I got several signing on from the 17 South. Let's see. Corey, use my cleaning rods and RO. Yep. It, weapons care is definitely a thing. Trying to keep them dry, trying to keep them clean. Definitely can be needed. Even if you do your best, it still happens. Or shooting in the rain. Shooting a lot of matches, we still might actually shoot in the rain regardless of the scenario. Even worse if it's muddy and rainy. So it's very easy for a gun to ingest a lot of stuff, even when you're just shooting and you're doing your best to keep it clean. So what can be an issue, even if you do the best, if your ammo's on your belt and your ammo goes and gets wet, even though your gun's clean, or the gun's rolled and rain's coming in through an ejection port, or that's more of a bolt action rifle that you might have that issue, but the ammo gets wet, it goes in the chamber. Well, the water doesn't compress, so what happens is it over pressurizes. So when you detonate that round, when you set the round off, it can increase your chamber pressure, and then that's where you can have that ripped case rim or something like that. So again, going back to the cleaning rod, so Tim signing on says he had one in his pack. So definitely something when you're doing these things, be aware of, something to plan for. Some guys have gone and carried a lot of kit with them, tools, things like that. I like to think, okay, what do I need? So usually I have a knife in my pocket. The blade that I have, I can reach in and wrench around at if I had to. The multitaskers and some of the Leathermen, they have a hook in there that's a pretty good option to rapidly deploy and pull something out if it's stuck. I keep this chamber rod, and then something else to think of is if you have, say if you're running a 223, put a 9mm brush maybe on a small section of rod or something, because if you have a case head separation, so the front and the back half of the case separate, you can use that 9mm cleaning brush, jam it in there, and pull that case out, and you'll be back in operation. If you're running a 308, run a 45 brush, and it'll run in all the bristles. You'll go in, and then as you go to pull it back out, they'll make contact with that brass case, and you can pull it out. So, contingency planning is definitely something to think about. If you're still trying to process everything, I wouldn't sweat about having 10 pounds worth of emergency gear for your gun, but something to be aware of what can happen. Think through what are the issues. If the gun just has a catastrophic failure, you're just done anyways. But if you have case head separation, you get a round stuck in the chamber because your extractor rips the rim off, stuff like that, you should, if you have a tool or two, you can work through that problem. Maybe you lose one stage, but you're not down the whole match, especially when you're running as one big circuit. So for those tuning in, talking about running gun stuff. So it's something that, for the guys that know about it, it's really cool and really exciting. So for those that don't know about it, the elevator pitch it's basically a trail run with a rifle and a pistol, and as you move along the designated path, wherever the terrain may lead you, you come across either obstacles that you have to negotiate, maybe climbing over, climbing through, going through a waterway, crossing a waterway, And as you get to them, there are shooting stages. So it could be just rifle, just pistol. It could be a battlefield pickup. So there could be an AK or a shotgun there that you got to shoot, and then shoot your gun, and work through the shooting problem. Once you're done, you're back on your run time. So as the name's pretty simple, the scoring, half of the score, your score is how fast you ran the course, and half your score is how well you shot the course. So very equal, breakdown of physical fitness, as in the running, and then all the components to that of how can you actually perform while you're tired, because you're running up to the stage, you don't know what's coming, it's blind, and then shooting. Okay, as you roll into the stage, here's the brief, there's the targets, any questions, okay, go. I mean, it's that simple. So it's simple in execution. It can be difficult when your heart rate's through the roof and you're tired and you just crossed through the moat, canal of water, or through a lake, or you just crawled out of an obstacle. So I enjoy them because of that, because it's the unknown. You have to have some element of keeping your wits about you, having a little bit of preparation of your gear, having fun with it, and surviving it. So I do them to have fun. I've been fortunate. I've been successful in the ones that I have shot, but I do it because of the challenge. I've shot USPSA, I've shot IDPA when I got started. I shot 3-gun, I shot a wide variety of long-range stuff and DMR matches, and I like shooting ARs, I like shooting pistols, I like shooting long guns. The running gun lets me feel that, how can I challenge myself, and there's really nothing to prepare for other than being the best you can be with whatever you're going to bring, whether with your pistol and your carbine, and face the unknown and deal with it. Similar to some other stuff, I also like shooting some long range, some team match stuff. And buddy Greg Hamilton and I, we shoot kind of similar to those that shoot running gun stuff. They have similar in the vein of facing that unknown challenge, but sometimes with a pistol, but mainly with either a couple bolt guns or a bolt gun and a carbine, and shooting, you gotta find the targets, you gotta range them and shoot them. So that has its own elements to that as well. So Tim, including your recent match, that was my 5th running gun. So I've shot, Bruce Perry runs the Riverbend Gun Club match, so he's run 2 of those, and I've shot both of them. He was actually the one at fault for getting me involved. I say I've shot a lot of things. Bruce was actually the match director for some of the very first matches I shot when I very first got started shooting. And he sent me an email out of the blue through the company I work for Night Force. And John can't access the video. Let's see here. I don't know how to answer that for you. Maybe try refreshing or looking on my own Facebook page and see if you can find it. But so going back to Tim, so Bruce was the reason I got involved in it. Went and shot his and had a blast with it. And so shot the first Carolina running gun up at Clinton House that Kelly ran, and then shot Ellis's gun run, and then Tim's recent one, the 17 South Sweat and Bullets one. So first one, that was 2018, and just in the Southeast, it's a growing thing. The South seems to have originated out of that Texas Oklahoma group, as a lot of different shooting sports have. A lot of long range stuff started in that area too. But those guys have a good thing going, and it's been good to see guys that have shot there bringing it back to the East. Bruce being one, and Matt with his Legion, and Tiger with his zombie match, and some of the other stuff that was at Rock Castle. Even though now that's gone away, and now we're kind of getting into that next generation, more matches. I mentioned Ellis Dom from the Gun Run. He's got multiple events going and is promising even more. Tim, Mark, Brian and the gang just ran one in Savannah that we'll talk a little more in detail about. And they're already announced another one coming up in December. So there's a growing movement of these events just because they're fun. They're a little different. It's not the same crowd as some of the other, you have guys that have shot 3-gun or USPSA and, or like in my case, doing those or long range, just wanting something different. And then you got guys that have never done anything before, or military and LE guys looking for the challenge for work stuff and working their kit out. So it's a great mix of people shooting these running guns. So if there's one around you, or you have the means to travel to do it, I highly recommend it. So Chris, what are some common mistakes people make in gear selection? What do people forget to bring or bring that we'll never need? Well, the first part, common mistakes in gear selection. One of the things that I think is fun about the running gun stuff is you run what you got. A lot of guys look at it as, how would I negotiate an emergency or a problem with what I have? You know, if I got my normal rifle, it's a home defense gun or truck gun or just one that's their just in case gun, and they run the course with it just to see how they would do, both for the training value and to find holes in maybe what they're having issues with or with their system. And that's what's some of the cool stuff. You get kind of an eclectic mix. Like at Bruce's match both years, the guy shows up with a AK-74 looking like a Russian paratrooper. I know guys run Garands. I've seen Galils. I've seen a couple guys run some bolt guns at some of the matches. You know, they know they're not in it to win it, but they're in it to have fun, to enjoy it, and for the challenge. So biggest thing is just making sure, you know, it's not a mistake on what you bring. It's more knowing what you have. And so if with any competitive shooting, if you're interested, the best thing to do is just do it. Do it with what you have. Don't go out and spend a bunch of money until you know what you're getting yourself into. Figure out, okay, I want to shoot this. I want to have fun with it. But, you know, use what you have. Don't be afraid to get out. When I got started, I didn't have the best stuff. And, you know, I still don't have, I have some Gucci stuff, but I don't have, you know, I don't look like I walk out of an Arc'teryx catalog. And, you know, having that experience of shooting the match or shooting a couple of them and seeing, okay, when I shoot this, I struggle. So is it a training thing or is it a gear thing? And then adapt from there. Or maybe it's both. So the it's not a mistake, but the biggest fundamental flaw is people don't use what they've got, you know, so, or understand what they have and how to maximize it. So, you know, as far as forget to bring stuff, I think there's a pretty good mix of information that's out there as far as what you might need to use to successfully negotiate the course. I mean, you need a rifle, you need a carbine, you need a rifle, you need a pistol, you need a way to carry both, so that means a holster for the pistol, sling for the rifle, a way to carry extra ammo, whether it's in your pockets, a chest rig, a belt kit, backpack, and then you know, hat, eye protection, ear protection. Beyond that, it's how much ammo do you want to bring, and do you need any extras? So, general rule of thumb, 2 to 3 times the minimum ammo count. So, for the most part, I don't think there's a match that doesn't tell you what the absolute minimum. If you took one shot and made one hit for everything you shot, that's the minimum round count to complete the course. So, say if a match director says it's going to take 50 rounds of rifle, a recommended amount will be at least 100, so doubling that. You know, it could be up to triple that. I generally am somewhere in between. Reason being, multiple magazines. You know, ammunition management is a big thing. So you may not always, you know, some of the stages could be a mile apart, or they could be a tenth of a mile apart. I like to have a fresh mag at any given time. That's on my kit, ready to go. So if I roll into a stage, I'm loading with a fresh mag, ready to go. With the you know, with the rest, if it's sometimes a match will say, hey, there's 8 stages. Well, there may be 5 stages, you know, depending on the event. So if it's 5 stages, even if there's 5, you know, if there's 50 rounds minimum rifle and there's 5 stages, the worst you might see is 10 rounds a stage if you shot every stage on average, or you could shoot up to 20 rounds on one stage. All that to say, I might bring 3 or 4 AR mags in that case for a 5.56 gun. Well, that's 120 rounds. Well, it's more than twice. I probably won't shoot that much. I maybe shoot, say, 70 rounds if there's a long range stage, shoot a few extras there, or take a couple insurance shots on paper where, you know, it's a, hey, don't miss, or there's a penalty to it. You know, managing your ammo load is probably the biggest thing. You don't want to be the guy that runs out. I know at the first Carolina run and gun that Kelly ran, the very last stage had a pistol spinner, and quite a few people ran out of pistol ammo. There's a lot of other pistols sprinkled throughout. Guys that went real lean, well, a stage or two that may have had some weekend shooting, burned burn more ammo than they anticipated, and then thinking, okay, maybe I have just enough. Well, just enough wasn't good enough. So a friend of mine taught me there's only 2 times you can have too much ammo. That's when you're on fire and drowning. So I don't mind running with an extra mag or extra rounds to top off. 9mm and 223 is not that heavy as far as carrying. So usually what I'll do if it's like a 5K with 5 stages, I'll have 2 30-rounders on the belt. I may have one more in a pocket or a chest rig, and then in my Camelback stick a 20-rounder like an emergency. If I have to go to that, something really bad happened, but I don't really notice it sitting back there. So a couple things rolling in. Corey ran a Garand. Yes, I've got a Garand. I'm a little afraid to carry it. One, it's a little too nice. I used to collect Grands for a while and then kind of got out of it, and so I kept a really nice one and really need to pick up ideally like a 308 shooter, but yeah, I mean it's quite a bit heavier than 5.56 AR. So Brian talking about 308 PMag, couple pounds. How big of a difference do you feel it makes? Not very refined runner, but I always assume there's negligible weight, extra mag or two. So it's not a mistake, it's how you carry it. For clothing wise, so I have tried a couple different things. I have settled on a cool KUHL. They make a pair of pants that's convertible, that is a soft shell material. I really like their pocket layout. So they have deep front pockets, and they have thigh pockets that have an internal elastic layer on the bottom, or kind of a half layer. What's nice with that elastic is it holds stuff close to your leg, so if you stick something in your pocket, it's nice to stick it there. With a belt kit, I generally don't run anything in back pockets. If I'm shooting a long range match, I might stick a spare mag in there because I'm not wearing a belt kit because I don't need it. But where you stick those mags matters, and that's something you can test out at home. I mean, you figure even an AR-15, 30-round mag is about a pound and a quarter, depending on the metal versus polymer. I run the Daniel Defense 32 rounders, so you can squeeze in there 30 or 31, still close home on the bolt or on a forward bolt very easily. A lot of unloaded starts and running guns, so sticking the bolt in and charging it pretty easily without having to smack the mag in. But so this guy with 31 rounds is, I think I weighted like 1.2 pounds. I mentioned that 308 AR mag, the 20 stuck in a bag somewhere. Here we go. So this guy with 24 rounds of 308, just 150 grain stuff, is just shy of 2 pounds. So I mean, you're already at 3/4 of a pound right there. Well, times 3 or 4, well, now you're at an additional 3-4 pounds. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but stick it in your pocket. Just walk around the house, just stick one in each side of your pocket, and you kind of feel that difference. And then what kind of has led me on gear selection is where that's carried. So the first couple running guns, I actually ran a Cavu rope bag, just like a single. It wraps around. It's meant to carry climbing ropes. Kind of hangs down, and I still like it. It's a good bag. It was easy to move around. So if you're crawling, you pull it underneath and you crawl across, and you don't have anything on your back to snag. I can fit a Camelback. I can fit a couple mags in there. It actually has 2 main pouches, so I could put one mag or fresh mags on one side, empty in the other, or partials in the other, and still be able to run around. And it didn't bounce too bad, but it still had quite a bit of bounce. So when you're trying to run sustained, just it's wearing on you because it's bouncing constantly. That's where I started looking at some of these chest rigs, like those Hill people, more for I started for just running. Like, what do I do with my phone? What do I do if I want to carry, sometimes at night or in the wintertime, it gets dark early, keep a little flashlight and like a Glock 43 or something. So I started playing with mounting something kind of up here, but not so restrictive that you have a lot of weight that's just hard to breathe, and you don't want a lot of stuff jostling around. So fairly tight to manage that weight, so you're not shifting all around. So for me, having a belt, I went to a belt system that has an inner belt and an outer belt, so that stays put, so it's not running around on you too bad. Sliding up and down. If you have a pistol and a bunch of mags. And then a chest rig that's fairly tight, I can keep 1 or 2 mags that's not, projecting out. Some chest rigs can get pretty deep, so I like to keep a little more svelte for crawling through the mud or something like that. and that's let me manage that weight a little bit better. Um, like I said, going so on the 308 mags, I did a test run to just a quick couple hundred yards and instantly knew I didn't want an extra 308 mag with one on the belt or two on the belt, one in the chest rig. I couldn't really fit much more without getting a lot of weight kind of pulling me to one side or the other. And then that running, that on the leg motion, just that extra 3/4 of a pound made a big difference on smacking around on my leg and just drag. So Mark's asking about belt kit. I've been a fan of the battle belt or war belt type setup for a long time for a lot of different uses. So I have one that's fairly universal. I'll run this for long range stuff that has pistol. I'll run it for the running guns or some 2-gun matches, DMR matches. I like having a modular, somewhat universal system. That way it's one setup to train with. It's always familiar. The mag's always the same. And for the most part, I shoot one pistol or one, a 5.56 carbine. But I wanted something to be modular, so if I shot a 1911 with single stack mags, or I wanted to shoot a 308, I could work the same pouch system or similar setup. So I've got a HSGI. This is their operator belt. I've got the inner belt out of it, but you can see it's got Velcro on it. So this is the tooth Velcro. So you run the inner on your normal, just your pants or your shorts. And then this Velcros to it, has a Cobra buckle, holds on front, and then a flap for for giving tension. So Greg on there shoots team matches, brother from another mother. He has a Whoopee belt that he was unnecessarily running a belt. That's why he's saying I won't let him run it. Only when it's needed. He has to justify it. That's part of our deal. He has to explain why he needs the belt. So it's just trying to make him run faster. So HSGI operator belt with Cobra buckle. With some of the running gun stuff with the slack lines, this one has the D-ring, so I can clip in a carabiner, so I can clip in and scurry across, which I know is not really what it was meant for more rappelling or fast roping, but being able to clip in and do that on running guns, nice. As far as on the pistol side, so I love the Safariland ALS holster. So I have the QLS system. So the QLS, actually it's upside down, so there we go. So it is a quick clip system that this is on a mid-height drop. So this drops down off of the belt line and then has the clip-in, clip-out system. So I can have anything. A lot of holster companies now are making that fit this QLS belt, whether it has retention or not, but the ALS system has a retention device, so I can quickly go from 2011 to a Glock to a 1911 to a Beretta or whatever I'm shooting, clip it in and roll. And then I've got HSGI tacos. So on the belt, again, it's finding that balance for you. Some guys that are physically bigger have a lot more strength and mass to them. They can get away with carrying more mags on their belt. I like running 2 of each. It's not so far back, so when it's on me, I'll just put it on real quick. So when I'm wearing it, my pistol mags are indexed right on the side, so it's still a fast load. Same as if I were to concealed carry. I like to run on that kind of 9 or even a little further back, 10 o'clock position. But as I've practiced since I started shooting, first mags are always right at about that hip bone, right in here. So it's the same index and reload and manipulation as I've always done. And then 2 further back, are my rifle mags. So because they stick up further, it's a whole lot easier, to reach back. I can load and easily stick it back in and see it. If I go too much further back, I can't physically see past my arm, and I'm just feeling around. So I just like to run the 2. They do make double layers, so you can stack them. I've thought about getting a double layer for like a higher round count match, with the upcoming Legion running gun or something like that. But I like this nice and clean, so when I'm actually running, nothing, both the holster and the mags, they're not interfering. I'm not having to alter how I would normally run, because I don't run with this belt. People in the neighborhood I don't think would appreciate it. But I can run pretty quickly or easily. I can crawl through a culvert or climb onto something. It's just less drag. It's fairly close to the body, projecting out maybe 2 inches when it's loaded, and it's pretty straightforward. But with these Tacos, what I like about them is they have bungee cords here, and they expand or tighten up depending on what mag you're sticking in them. So I just showed you, so I can stick a 5.56 mag in it, and then I can also run. I tightened it back up for 5.56s, but same mag. I didn't even do anything. I could fit a 308 mag in there. I'm not gonna fit my bolt gun mags in there. Same thing. Again, they're may take a little bit of fidgeting to get in, but I have a fairly universal system that I can run back and forth. So, and that worked out for me because at this the 17 South, the Sweat and Bullets match, I actually ran 2 divisions. So, kind of an uncommon thing at running gun stuff. Some places will do multiple distances, so they might run like a 5 or a 10K. In this instance, it was the first iteration of the match, which the guys did a great job at the event. You wouldn't have thought it was the first time running it. I mean, they just did an outstanding job. I've shot matches all over the country, and they did an excellent job. So kudos to you guys. I know some of you are watching. But so at that match, they sent out the run order about a week before, the first run order, and I saw they still had some capacity left. So sent them a note and said, hey, can I run a second time, pay a second time? I'm a pretty competitive person by nature, so I didn't want to give up running kind of my normal setup, but I also wanted to try something different, mix up the gear a little bit just for fun. I mean, I shoot to have fun, and just to kind of see, compare, contrast how that would do. So they let me sign up for a second time, and I ran a completely different setup. Same belt kit, but so the first run through, I ran an SR25 and 308. So normally I'm a 5.56 guy, but for whatever reason, this match I just wanted to try different stuff. So this is set up fairly similar to my 5.56 gun. So kind of 16-inch collapsible stocks, ATAC R1-8s. Match triggers, muzzle brakes. So pretty straightforward. But this one's 223, one's 308. And that was kind of my first, or what I consider my competitive run, as in it's blind. There's no iteration of seeing it before. As far as a pistol, I ran. I've been playing with one of the new not STI anymore, but Staccato Ps. So I ran that as kind of, again, my gamer setup with the challenge of the 308. Second run through, back when I was a poor college student, I only ran iron sights. So I actually ran a 20-inch M16A2. I built this rifle a couple years ago. Growing up, child of the 90s, the M16A2, you think U.S. military, you think of this rifle. So I have just always liked the look of it. I always thought they looked cool. So, as in a non-panic time, now this gun's worth a lot more than it was a couple months ago, but inexpensive but range toy in iron sights. So I ran this, and in keeping in the vein of the late 80s, early 90s, ran a Beretta 92, and this is actually my dad's old police pistol. So kind of ran my growing up, what the U.S. military looks like. A lot of people wouldn't think of Beretta as competitive with the 2011. So that was my second run through. So I ran the first run about 9:40 or so in the morning, taking off. It was very humid, fairly hot, and overcast, and very damp. So it had been, we've had a lot of rain in the southeast the last month or so, and ran through the course. Had some issues with my glasses fogging up. So, the match itself started Clubhouse, the 17 South Rod and Gun Club, which is a beautiful place, by the way. Has a pond, well-stocked pond with a clubhouse, and it's got a pro shop inside. I mean, just really, really nice facility. Very nice ranges and bays all spread out. They're doing a great job down in that Savannah area. So you start out right at the clubhouse, and you run around that pond, and you get to stage 1. Well, you got to cross over some mud spots and run through the water, and you get to stage 1, which was maybe half mile, 3/4 of a mile. At that point, with the humidity, as I went up to the shooting stage, they start giving me the brief. I'm rapidly clearing my glasses with those lens fobs, but as soon as I put the glasses on, draw the gun, go to load it, and it starts fogging up on me. So managed to survive that first stage. Not as fast. Took quite a few extra shots because that first stage you had to. They had a real clever prop. They called the stage "Walking the Dog," and they had a weight tied to like a pulley system. So you had to hold that pulley system back to get that weight off the ground, and then shoot your pistol one side with one hand, switch hands, shoot the other. I had issues, especially after I switched hands. I just saw a big gray blob that was my pistol, and then like blobs downrange as the target. So I burned quite a few extra rounds on that. I even had to reload, which for an 8-round stage, I burned through 20 rounds. So I managed to get through that. Took off. Got to stage 2, which was rifle stage, and probably my most fun one. Probably my most favorite one. They call that one ammo drop, and that was you started about 15-ish yards offset from the first shooting position. They had a 40 millimeter ammo can, which is about this big, so a big ammo can. You had to carry it, put it down, and then they had 3 targets, maybe 30, 40 yards apart, and you had to shoot 1 round per standing. 1 round per off of a tank trap or like a hedgehog. So if you ever watched Saving Private Ryan, all those big like jack-looking things on the beach, they had something like that. You had to shoot off of, and then you shot prone off the ground. And then you ran back to where you started, and then shot another target a couple times. So shot that with a 308. Some guys have asked what was shooting a 308 versus 223. A 223 with a muzzle brake and a 1-8 or something on it, or 1-6 is kind of a cheater gun. I mean, there's no recoil. It's really flat, so even if you miss, I mean, you're shooting, the gun's not moving. With a 308, you're going from a little old 53, even 75 grainer to 150 grainer. So a lot of extra energy and torque on the gun, and then it's physically, the bolt carrier group's almost twice the weight, so just a lot more mass moving, so just harder to control. You really got to focus on it. But I think I fired a couple extra shots, but on a 223 you can almost kind of forget about it, just kind of hold it in place and shoot it and move, and if you miss, you just take another shot. With 308 you're kind of like rocking each time. You really have to concentrate. But got through that, couple extra shots, took off. You ran maybe another 0.2 of a mile, got to stage 3. Had to crawl under a tunnel with a bunch of Spanish moss, which is I'm from Florida, so I know exactly what that is. It's like a stringy, like knotted up, just like fibers, if you will. It's a natural. It hangs on plants, but Chris ran a 14.5 with a brake. Yes, this is a cheater gun. So you crawled through that, and then you shot 5 rounds with a pistol at the back of a bay, so maybe 30 yards. You ran up another 5 yards, then you ran up and shot the rifle. So the 308 again there, you had to take headshots, so you had a target area about this big, shot for maybe 10, 15 yards. You had to put 5 rounds in each. So with that 308, I was having issues again with the fogging, got into that phase, or that part. Got through the pistol okay, got to the rifle, and even shooting through a scope, my glasses were all fogged, so I had my reticle on. The crosshair was glowing quite brightly. So I had a big red blob, and I saw a big brown blob through the scope that was the target. So I zoomed in a little bit, and just kind of, that 308, just kind of keep letting it rock back down and settle down. Did that for both sides, finished that stage. And then you had a little bit of run between those two between the one you shot and the one before that was the barricade stage. So you flipped a big tire, shot barricade with a pistol, flipped the tire again, and shot the barricade with a rifle. That one wasn't too bad. With 308, you could really clamp down on the barricade and with the rifle and make 2 shots pretty easy. Pistol, ran through that really well on that. I didn't have too many issues there. Tried to shoot that one faster, just again to fight off the fogging. Reason I didn't take the glasses off, a lot of guys say, we'll just take the glasses off. I'm not, especially with a pistol. With a rifle, it's kind of a gray area. With a pistol, I'm pretty much always going to shoot with glasses on, especially at steel targets for ricochets coming back, or problem with the gun. Gun has a malfunction, fires out a battery or something. I just don't want that debris coming back. I only have 2 sets of eyes, so or 1 set of eyes, pair of them. So try to get through that before that fogging issue. And then you had a long run to the last stage, which is stage 5. You had some pistol targets in the woods, fired a few extra rounds there, just trying again towards the end of that stage, fogging up, and then you went into a kneeling position over a big plastic pipe, and they had what we call skinny Sammies or mini IPSC poppers. So it's like they're maybe this big. They're kind of skinny, and they have like a circle in the middle. It's one big steel, cutout, and they had 3 of those. You had to shoot 1 round each from one shoulder, and then switch shoulders and do the same. They were kind of in a shadow gray area, so again, I had some issues. So in that case, I just pulled my glasses up and just shot without it. Took the chance because I was low behind the culvert, behind the gun. I was able to see them, so ran through those pretty quickly. Fired some few shots extra with the weak hand, and then they had a target further back. It took a couple rounds with the rifle. So, and then on the way back to the clubhouse, they had a bonus stage with a pistol, 5 shots, 45 yards, unlimited time, but it was burning your run time. It wasn't a stage time; it was run time. So I got 4 out of 5 with the STI on that, and then made it to the end. And all about 48 minutes on the course. So I had one stage I had to wait about a minute, but other than that, you're running and you're shooting, and that's about it. Along the course, you went through they had a water obstacle, so they had like a series of T-posts with a string, and you had to go on the outside of that, so basically getting wet before you shoot stage 1, just as you get started. And then before that last stage, at stage 5, they had a canal, or they call it a moat, but they had just a rope across, and you had to forge through it. Some spots, it was maybe mid-thigh. At one spot, I think the ROs knew I was coming because of the 4-letter word as I went down to about here in the water. So I was trying to hold on to one and keep the gun up on the other, and because you can't see, which out west you have nice clear streams. Here in the southeast, especially after it rains, it's murky and muddy and dark. So you're just kind of stepping into the unknown and hoping you don't go too deep. But so you did get wet, did crawl through the mud a little bit, and lots of running. Thankfully, because it was South Georgia, it was flat. We didn't have any hills because there aren't any, thankfully. But all in all, it was a fun course. With the 308, the course they had laid out, my goal was to not miss. With the 308, you have the penalty of the gun moving you around. So trying to stay focused on shooting the gun and really hold that tight, ride the lightning, if you will, with 308. And was able to do pretty well with that. So I was real happy with my rifle shooting. My pistol, I suffered on. I did not have a good plan on fogging with the lenses. It was excessively humid. I just had issues with that. With I could have shot better with the pistol. So overall, I still had a good run. It just could have been a little bit better. I always like to analyze what I did. Ran a second time. So about an hour and a half ish after I came back was my second run time. So in that short amount of time, took a little bit of time to relax and kind of get my heart rate down as much as I could, control my breathing, chug water with like liquid IV in it, so getting the electrolytes up. Honey Stinger waffles. Let's see. Making a mess. So these little guys, took one of these. I think I chowed down on a tuna pack and some other, applesauce. I like applesauce a lot. So kind of trying to keep system regulated, get some calories in, keep the blood sugar, keep all the electrolytes balanced out. Reset my gear. So I mentioned shifting around, took the 2011 off, put the Beretta and the ALS holster on, swapped all the mags. Actually, I did change chest rig, so one of the first questions somebody asked was what chest rig do I run. So I ran a Hill People Gear runner's bag with a 308 because it's just physically bigger to fit the mag. But by the time I was done, it was absolutely soaking wet. And so I changed shirt and then ran my lighter Hill People Gear snubby bag. And I'm able to fit one AR mag and 1 or 2 pistol mags and my phone, and that's about it. The reason I don't need a phone on the course, but my wife bought me these handy dandy little Bluetooth earbuds. So I run just one ear, and then I run some Peltor muffs. So I run one ear so I can listen to music. I can tap it real quick and it turns the music off. So as I roll into a stage, turn it off. and then when I leave the stage, tap it and take off, and I have some ACDC or something else fueling the run. Because I'm not the biggest fan of running, but I do it to try and be competitive. So tried to manage my loadout, changed the kit over, and ran the iron sight gun. So Brian mentioned shooting a Beretta primer blow up. Yep, definitely. People not you can get safety glasses very, very cheaply. In a lot of industries, it's an OSHA requirement for operating machinery. So there are $5-10 glasses. You don't have to run the nicest set that are out there. I like Oakley M frames. First shooting glasses I had were Oakley M frames. I've had the 2s, the 3s, and I've been running the alphas. I like the way the alphas fit. I got a wide head, so the alphas fit well for me. But it's cheap insurance. I'm not going to sacrifice. I'll burn a couple extra seconds fighting my glasses before I'll take them off. It's just not worth the eyesight for a couple extra seconds on a stage. So it's a good point because you just don't know what can happen, especially in that particular stage, like that very first stage where I was really struggling. I came out of the water and the mag I loaded with, my pistol ammo was just come out of the water. So again, it could create issues, and I didn't want to fight. So Tim, food intake day before, day running gun. I don't have a good plan on that. I probably should. There are some great nutritionists, and there's a lot of different information out there. I try and eat fairly clean. I know there's a couple things for me that really slow me down, so I try and avoid those. But a mix of some protein, some carbs, some vegetables. Nothing too much out of the ordinary, but I'm not afraid to eat a few extra calories because I know I'm going to burn them. So having a balanced mix is what I like to go for. The day of, and then really 2-3 days before I really start the hydration, because the day of it's almost too late, to be hydrating. So I'll have a normal layer, and then I'll slowly increase. Maybe do an extra big cup of water a day or extra. I kind of keep track with how many of these Nalgene bottles I drink a day. So maybe I'll do an extra one of these 2 days before the match, and 2 of these the day before the match, and then chug a bunch the day of. And that helps so that you're not cotton mouth on the course, and as you get dehydrated, your eyesight goes away. You're not thinking as clearly. Just your body's not working as well as it could be if it's not hydrated. So hydration is big. I try not to go too heavy on the day of. So depending on when my takeoff time is, or if I don't know when that is, I try not to eat too heavy. If it's later in the day, I'm not afraid to eat a little more. Again, you're going to burn calories just sitting still. So you still need something in the system. Just don't, engorge yourself, and kind of regulate out what you're going to have. As we get closer, I'll just kind of, how am I feeling? Like I said, like applesauce and fruits, kind of with a little bit of sugar content. Something that give me a little bit of energy or pep, a little bit of boost. Something on the nutrition side. There's been a lot of different opinions on like caffeine or the day of. If you drink coffee every day, drink coffee that morning. If you drink tea, drink tea. Don't not do something on that race day, because your body will actually, I used to be highly addicted to sweet tea. When I stopped drinking sweet tea, my body let me know I was not drinking it until it kind of worked its way out of that system. So you don't want to break that cycle of what your body's used to. Now, if it's, eating a bag of Snickers every day, well, maybe that, you want to look at adjusting that. But for the most part, if you have a pretty good nutrition plan, or you know what your body likes, just kind of stick to that. Eat normally, maybe eat a little extra the day before, and then kind of look at your run time as far as how full do you want to be, and do you take kind of something a half hour before you run just to give you a little extra boost on that blood sugar. So while I'm talking about match prep, a couple other things, going back, it was mentioned earlier, something that's not done, or people show up to a match that's not done correctly, something that is super easy, it's kind of boring, it's not fun to do, but a really good zero. And that is where what you're aiming at is where your bullets are striking at a certain distance. So I like 100-yard zero on my carbines. I know there's some schools of thoughts on different, 25, 300, 50, and 200. I shoot a lot of precision rifle stuff. I got a variety of guns. Everything's 100 yards for me. There's a lot of math that's floating around the back of my head for different reasons, for different guns. So all working off that 1-0 for me works. I just know my holds at different distances. But essentially when you're shooting a cone, based on your accuracy in your rifle downrange. And if what you're aiming at in that cone of fire are not aligned, you're aiming at the target, but your bullets are going over here. Well, that's not good, because now one, you think you're aiming at it, making a good shot, and you're missing, and that's just because they're mechanically not even aligned. But let alone any other environmental factors or distance issues or positional problems, things like that. So a very good zero goes a long, long way. Also, something that bit me. So on that second round, I didn't really talk about that. That bonus stage at 45 yards. Shot the Beretta before the match, took it out for a practice session. Again, it was for fun. I wasn't trying to be ultra competitive with it. I just wanted to go have fun and make sure I ran the gun safely. I only shot it to about 15, 20 yards. Usually for a running gun, I'll try and shoot out to about 50. If a match director says they're going to shoot it out, have targets out to 50 yards, I take their word for it and anticipate at least one target being at distance. So I like to know, even if I can't adjust the sights, where is it hitting? So at 50 yards, if my pistol hits high and right, I need to hold low and left on the target. I like to know that going into the match, in case there's that one instance. At Ellis's gun run at Clinton House, he had that. He had a stage where there was a target. It was 40-ish, 50-ish yards. I don't remember off the top of my head. Where you could stand still and draw and shoot, or you could run up as close, up to within about 10 yards of the target. So you could either burn all that time running, or if you knew where your gun was hitting, you could draw and take the shot, which is what I did. I was shooting the 2011 in that instance and was able to just draw and fire. Nick Quick says, hey, for some of the guys that don't know, Nick, we've never met, but I hope one day we can, and I'd like to shoot your Scrambler one day, and I hope to be like you when I get a little bit more advanced in age. Nick has a pretty cool course out in the Midwest where he gets to go out and have his own running gun anytime he wants. So that's on my dream aspiration list, is having my own setup. So good to see you. Prep stuff. So back to that good zero. Just can't emphasize that enough. Even if you change ammo. So I ran on the Iron Sight gun some 53 VMAXs. So they look the same, but I've got two loads. One's more expensive and one's a little cheaper. But they also serve different purposes. So I run a 73 grain, like heavy load for longer range stuff. Or, if it's a lower round count match, I'll just run it for everything. But if it's, hey, we're going to shoot out to 400, 500, 600 yards, I'm running a heavier projectile that's easier to, it cuts through the wind a little bit better, a little more consistent at distance. But like in this case, if it's only out to 200-300 yards, I'll run a lighter, faster bullet, in this case a 53 grain VMAX, both from Hornady. The reason being, if it's inside 200-300 yards, most of the time the targets aren't very, very tiny, but having the higher speed of a lighter bullet, so in this case, in like say my normal running gun rifle, this bullet's running about 2750 feet per second. This guy's running 3100, so you're several hundred feet a second faster. At 600 yards, the heavier bullet's going to win. Out to about 300, the 53 VMAX gets there faster. About the same to slightly less wind because of it's going so fast, and that instant feedback. And not that there's a lot of recoil, but on like a 308, we'll talk about that. The little bit lighter bullet just runs a little bit better as far as less recoil, less torque. Again, 223, not really an issue. On a 308, I ran 150 grain Full Metal Jacket Hornady stuff out of the 308 on this run versus a 175, which 308 has a lot more juice behind it, a lot more torque. The heavier bullet doesn't sound like a lot, 20, 25 grains of bullet weight, but when you're trying to stand and hold the gun or mount it on a barricade, the amount of energy cycling through the gun, the 150 grainers, they're getting there faster, flatter out to a couple hundred yards, which is all we were shooting to. And there's less recoil, less torque, so just a better option all around. So consider your ammo. All that to say, going back to zero, if you change your ammo, check your zero. Even if you're shooting a 55 grain, say American Eagle, Federal load, which is good ammo, and then say you go to a 55 grain Hornady or 55 grain Spear or somebody, You can have a point of impact change. Same thing on pistol ammo. All ammo is not made the same. All bullet shapes are not the same. For the most part, they are accurate enough to most distances. 7 yards, 10 yards with a pistol, not going to see a difference. 25 yards, you'll see a difference. 50 yards, you'll definitely see a difference. Particularly on weight changes, but also even bullet type. So a good zero, even when you change ammo, and knowing your ammo's performance goes a long way to applying, the rifle fire to hit the target. So enough about zeros. Talk about that a lot. Let's see here. Gear selection, again, can't emphasize that enough. Know what you have, practice with it. Something before match. So we talked about food. Good sleep also matters, not just the day before. I know I'm guilty sometimes of showing up. Some matches, stay up a little late, drinking with some of the buddies, and shooting slightly hungover. I've done that before and don't recommend it, especially with a muzzle brake. That's kind of extra pressure on the head. But good sleep, and but knowing your gear, knowing what you got, and how it interacts. Put it on and run around the house, run around the backyard, go to the range. A lot of times, gun club doesn't have a problem if you leave your gun. Like in my case, I can leave it unloaded. Let's just say I can run up all around the road, come back, pick up the gun, load it, and shoot it. If you have a buddy there watching the guns, usually a better idea. But don't be afraid to try it out. See how it bounces around or doesn't bounce around. Try your sling setup so that when you come into a stage, you don't have some spider web of a sling and you're kind of like, I need to get my gun out. So yeah, Tim and Brian asking on optics. So on gear, talking about optics. So for running gun, I am a fan of the ATAC-R 1-8 by Nightforce. It is expensive. I do work for Nightforce. That is my day job, and it does help feed the family. So I will run the Nightforce. But even if I wasn't, I would run Nightforce. And that's, I was before I worked there, and that's one thing a lot of employees that do work there, they're fans of the brand for what the product brings. So I'm not going to give you too much of a shill on it, but knowing what I know and having seen what I've seen of how we test these before they go out the door, you could use this as a hammer to put tent stakes and go shoot the match with it. I mean, they are almost abused before they go out the door. So much so that I've taken people on factory tours and they kind of cringe when they see a $3,600 scope getting beat on a metal impact stand to make sure that it's not going to come loose on you. With running guns, this thing's bouncing around and banging into stuff and dragging through the mud and getting stuff on it. So having something that holds that zero, I spend a lot of time making sure I have a good zero. I want to make sure it holds that zero, and that's not just the scope but the mount as well. So being sure of that. So ATAC-R 1-8, they have another one. I'll reach over and get it out real quick. So another one that I ran Ellis's match with, and I've got on because I can't afford ATAC-Rs, and I work for the company, but I can't afford them on everything, I should say. It's the NX8 1-8. So this little guy, it's actually smaller than the ATAC-R. It's less than 9 inches long. I know quite a few guys I've shown it to that have since bought them. So it's a cool little 1-8 first focal plane, daylight bright, illuminated reticle on it. $1,000 less than the ATAC-R, so still a very good value in there's a lot of low power variable options out there. A lot of different reticles. There's first for second focal plane. There's pros and cons to that. Nightforce has that stuff, and we talk about that at Nightforce, but I won't bore you guys to death with selling scopes. So I do run Nightforces. I like them for what they offer. I like the glass quality, how they hold zero, the clicks, the feature set. Part of it, I've helped on some of the feedback during the development process. So, and then again, knowing who we talk to, the work we do to them that goes into them, they're a great choice for something that, if you had to go out tomorrow and drag the thing anywhere with me, I wouldn't be afraid to do that. I wouldn't think, oh man, I don't want to take that because I don't know if it's going to hold zero or I'm going to be able to see the target or whatever. I mean, I have complete confidence I can do anything I need to do. That my running gun setup, it's not just for running gun. I use it for DMR matches, use it for team stuff, I use it for anything and everything. That's kind of one gun to rule it So kind of bounced around a little bit. So come back around to the iron sight run. Just mention on that. So I shot the pistol a little bit better because the second time through I ran that match, sun came out, so the overcast went away. The humidity, maybe it wasn't 150%, but maybe like 125%, which is kind of a joke. It's quite high, and so it dried out a little bit. I had no issues with fogging on the second run. Cleaned the glasses really well before I went out and didn't have any problems with that. So ran the pistol better because of it. So you look at the scores, you think, man, like I should shoot an M9 all the time. And I think the Beretta is a good gun. I think it is big, but it in some circles, Ernie Langdon's done a lot of work on optimizing a Beretta 92. It's still a good platform that shoots really well. Good mags that run well. Ran the M9 pretty good. Ran the irons again. The course fire wasn't such. I did have issues on that last stage, stage 5. Looking through the shadows. Irons work well when you can see the target, and I think that's anybody that's shot them, especially versus optics, could attest to. The irons are fun, and there's something. I guess learning how to shoot with iron sights. I couldn't afford optics before. Lining the peephole at the front sight, and there's a very rewarding feeling of knowing, oh yeah, we're gonna hit this target. But when you can't see the target on like those little skinny Sammys, I struggled. So looking back on round count, I fired 8 or 9 extra shots on that second run through the iron sight gun. Pretty much they were all on that very last stage. I actually ran the stage with the ammo can. Ran it faster with the iron sight 5.56 than the 308. Just one of those. Because it was one shot per, it was pretty quick, even with an iron sight gun, to kind of get on target, find it, transition. Jim mentioned no humidity in Pecos. The Pecos running gun, that is also on my wish list. I was hoping to be able to get to it this year, but with this COVID stuff and everything else and family life, just too many things to make that happen. But look forward to one day. The Pecos running gun, if you guys look that up, I think that's the granddaddy of all the running guns out in West Texas, way West Texas. But that's on the list. So a couple matches coming up. So been chatting about running guns for a little bit. If you're interested, so it's already sold out, but you can still get on the wait list. Coming up in September, my next match is the Legion match. So that Matt Stennett runs it in conjunction with guys from 5th Group, 5th Special Forces Group. This year it will be in kind of Middle Tennessee, southeast of Nashville, at a new facility. So they have a 5 and a 10K. They try and set up stages that are emulated from real world engagements with the 5th Group guys. So I've never shot it. Really looking forward to it. Again, it's unknown to the max. I mean, they go full on. Like in years past, there's some great videos out there where if you're along the trail and there's a sign, you might want to write down the information, because 2 stages later that there might be some information that might give you an advantage or something like that, or remembering things. So it's a mental game. It's not just about the shooting. So I'm really looking forward to getting to Legion. Ellis at Gun Run, he's got a team match. I think it's already sold out in September. He's also got a night match in November. Out in Texas, the Venado, it's a new facility out in Hill Country, kind of west of San Antonio. I'd really like to get to that. I like that part of the world. It's just a really cool country. I'm hoping to get out there. I don't know if I can get to that one, maybe another one in the future. Out in Pawnee, I've never made it to the Pawnee, Oklahoma. It's kind of the guys that have brought running gun to the southeast. That seems to be where they all kind of met and kind of developed the fellowship that is the running gun, the brotherhood, if you will, brother and sisterhood. So they have some night stuff, and that night running gun, it's either they tend to have a white light or a night or nod division. So if you got a single or dual tool night vision, you can shoot it all in the dark. So that stuff's pretty cool. So there's one of those. The zombie match goes on sale. So that was at Rock Castle. Now it's going to be at the Lucas Oil Farm in Missouri. That goes on sale September 1st. That's in November. That's a team match as well. There are a few slots for lone survivors, so you can shoot a team match course of fire if you want to carry everything for 2 guys as 1 person. And then the 17 South guys, they got another match they just announced December down back in Savannah. So should be not nearly as hot. August in Savannah, August in here in Georgia in general is hot, but in December it actually should be quite nice. Have some seafood down on the coast, and that should be a good time. So a lot of stuff coming up. Glad to see more in the southeast. I know, talking to different guys, there's more coming. There you go. Terry saying Legions in Spencer, Tennessee at Dead Zero. That's the name of the range. I couldn't remember it. But glad to see it growing. One of the things too, there's not a lot of information about it in one consolidated source. There is a Facebook group, RNG Discussion. So if you look up on there, a lot of matches get posted, a lot of discussions go on in there. I try and write. So this is my first video instance of this. Wanted to do it for fun. Guys have asked different questions. A couple have mentioned, hey, you should do a video about it. So I've actually been writing down. I like to write as kind of a go to bed activity, kind of helps me go to sleep. But so I've got a bunch of after action reviews for not just this match but others, and gear loadouts on my own site called practicalsharpshooter.com. So find more information on there if you want. But part of the fun is there's not a master, like USPSA has a parent organization, PRS has a parent organization, and that is great in a lot of ways, of unifying in a lot of ways. But part of the fun, I think, with the run and gun stuff is it's this outlaw nature that's not, the rules are very similar. You don't have to have one setup for each different rule set, which is nice. They all kind of share roughly the same rules. You may have some range rules that require, some places you can run with a loaded pistol, some places you can't. It could just be a range rule. But by and large, there's no run and gun, parent organization. I don't think there should be. I think every match has the unique flavor of its match directors and of the location and what they can exploit from both a running course and a shooting course. So that's a lot of the fun to that. So back to the 17 South. Just want to circle back to that again. Guys did a great job. It was a charity match. That's why I want to run it twice too. There was space. They're trying to raise money for some good causes, so I wasn't afraid to run it twice because I would have done it anyways just for fun. But the running gun, community doing something to help out. In the case of that match, half the money went to a local shooter that has done a lot for that area. So there was in need. I don't know the full story, but I know they did some stuff for him. And then the other half, the match winner got to pick. So I did win the match. So I did. Got to hang out with a couple active Rangers, and there's some other guys there that were former Rangers and a lot of former military as well. But just had a great time with them. I've always, respected any of the military community, but Rangers have always, always been kind of cool guys in my mind. So they have the Sua Sponte Foundation. So half the proceeds of the match are going there, and that's to help guys that have either been wounded or killed, or their families if they've been killed, if they need something. It's part of their community taking care of each other. So I was real glad to be able to help steer some of the money to that for what those guys do. So I've been rambling, for a while now. So that's a little bit over an hour. I've got more stuff here if anybody has any questions. I don't want to keep going. Biggest thing, if you're interested in these, just do it. Just come on out. Send me a note if you're interested. Send other guys. Send match directors. I know they're always looking for ROs for help or to help run the match. There's a lot of logistics that go into it. One of my goals in the future is to actually run one or more running guns myself. I think it's a great venue that tests a lot of things. It brings a lot of great people together. I know a couple cool spots that I've been working on. So hopefully 2021 might see one or two that I'll try and come up with. I've already been thinking of some fun stages. For the couple industry guys like Chris on there at Daniel Defense, thank you guys for sponsoring the event, and the industry support's great. The prize table stuff is nice to have, but at the end of the day, we're here to have fun and get better at our shooting. So, but it's glad to see, Chris came out from Daniel Defense, local company. The first running gun I went to was as a representative for Night Force. Now I do it just for fun. I'll go for Night Force, but also do it just for fun. It's not just, I have to go for work, but it's a good community. So encourage you to check it out if you haven't, and stick with it if you are. The running gun stuff, I'm not a big fan of running. I bought a rowing machine so I didn't have to run for exercise, but doing the running gun stuff, the only way you get better at running is to actually run. So it's actually motivated me to be a little bit better at the running in general. So So with that, again, thanks for signing on and watching. PracticalSharpshooter.com. I got more information on there. RNG discussion on Facebook. Great group. I think there's 1,500 members on there. So a lot of diverse experiences. Guys have been real successful. Guys have been there from the beginning. So don't be afraid to go on, ask questions. Don't be afraid to search. I've gone on there. I'll look up stuff all the time, different matches or what gear different guys have used to see if I'm thinking about maybe this chest rig will work or maybe this set will work, just to get some other feedback. But overall, thanks for joining me, and maybe we'll do one of these again soon.